All right. Good evening, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube friends. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on the live streams. So we've got hopefully a decent size audience this evening. We certainly had plenty of signups. I think we were pushing close to 150 people that have signed up for this webinar. So I'm going to be bouncing around between all the platforms. I'm going to try to answer everyone's questions this evening as you put them in. If they're on topic, we'll definitely try to focus on them. But please be patient. I will go back and answer as many questions as you have. So doesn't matter how long it takes. Sometimes we can get through them all in 15 minutes. Sometimes you keep me for 45 minutes. I am a chatty Cathy, so I will talk on this topic all night long. It's kind of near and dear to my heart. So very few things I have a passion for as much as connecting people with these down payment assistance programs and grants. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is John Collins. I have been doing these webinars probably approaching 4 years now, teaching renters how they can break free of the renting rut and purchase with very little money out of pocket using down payment assistance programs and grants. So my goal is typically to get someone in a house with just a few $1,000s out of pocket. So depending upon what area of the country you're in, it tends to be a little bit taller order sometimes. But I usually find if you have at least 1% of a purchase price, we can usually make things work. So for example, if you're buying in my neck of the woods, $150,000, $200,000, that's $1,500 to $2,000 out of pocket, and we can make it happen. So if you are some of those other areas of the country on the coast where, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 doesn't buy much, that could be $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So there is tons of money across the country. Just to give you a feel for it, New York has a program now that actually offers $261,000 in down payment assistance. LA, $160,000. Miami, Florida, $200,000 for down payment assistance programs. So they are all over the country. There's no shortage of money out there. We're actually going to put you in contact with, and we're going to show you how to use a database this evening that we advertised 2,500. They just told us it's above 2,600 down payment assistance, home buyer grants, and tax credit programs. So not so much in the tax credit area. So I think 2,500 is still a pretty accurate number, but these programs are down payment assistance and grant money. So I am all about trying to connect people with the free money first. Then after that, we try to hit the down payment assistance money. So I have been doing this, about 12 to 13 years right now. So it was just a byproduct of finding my passion after a big financial meltdown in my world, at least. So we had a reset after the financial crisis in 2012 and had some businesses that went south and had to rebuild from scratch. So that's like credit, everything, you name it. I've been through all of it. But just to rewind even a little bit further, I actually got in the business in 1987. I started selling real estate. And then shortly thereafter, after getting married, selling real estate and raising a family, not the easiest thing. So I went over to the mortgage world. So I spent over 20 years in the mortgage world, wearing many hats, on the origination side, all the way up to the boardroom. So there were many hats that I've seen. I'm very, very in tune with what goes on behind the scenes in the mortgage world. That's how I know to tap into these programs and how to structure transactions to get in with very little money out of pocket, staying in compliance. So, and then I also had interest in title insurance companies. So there's very few things that haven't hit my radar. And if I don't know a question, I'm not shy to tell you, I've got a pretty big Rolodex where there's a lot of people I can tap to get the answers. So if you are looking for ways to get into home with very little money out of pocket, I can assure you, you are at the right spot. So I always tell people whether your timeline is 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years makes no difference to me. In fact, I always have a host of people that have been watching my webinars 3, 4 years. So if you are any of those people that have been hanging around, and I say that respectfully because I appreciate you showing up, week in, week out with regards to following me for an extended period of time, could you please let us know in the chat box how many years or how long have you been following me? So, and then we're going to get started here in just a minute. Oh, and by the way, please, if you have an address to a property that you want me to do some homework live, and what I mean by that is I will do the search. I'll tell you what programs are out there, what I would choose, how I'd structure the deal, what qualifications it's going to take, and more importantly, whether I see value. I mean, I'm always going to give you my input on that side. And I love doing it because every now and then I'll get somebody from the coast and it just boggles my mind how much real estate is when we start talking about New York or California or even Miami right now. It's just crazy that $1 million just doesn't buy you much. That's why they have to offer so much money in the way of down payment assistance in order to combat that wave. Right now, there's some big issues going on, at least in my opinion, in the real estate world. And those issues are, we are seeing the average first-time home buyer's age is approaching 40 years old. That's an alarming number. When I first got into real estate, it was 27 or 8, I believe. So think about it. The average first-time home buyer's age went from 27 or 28 all the way up to 40. And don't get me wrong, that's over a period of time, but it's not trending in the right direction. And it's to the point now where I think a lot of people are giving up on home ownership. So that's why I'm here to basically try to scream from the hills that it is possible. Patience, persistence, those are the keys. So, one thing I need to do here is I always have my little reminder set to start a recording. If anybody ever needs a recording of this webinar, I always push them out to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Facebook Live only keeps them for 30 days. YouTube, they're out there indefinitely. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So, like I said, a lot of people think that homeownership is just unobtainable right now. And I get a lot of pushback from people that think what I do is not genuine. And sometimes even people think it's a scam. I am telling you, there are so many stories. I'm going to share probably a good 4 or 5 stories with you in just a moment. And like I said, I'm going to give you a link to the tools and to my website where we've got all kinds of free content out there. So that being said, I want to give you some of the success stories, the people that we have helped over the past few months. Here's the first one. This is actually Nate and Chelsea. Okay, Nate and Chelsea bought this home out in White Lake Township. They used a $14,000 down payment assistance program to buy this $260,000 house, covered all of their down payment. And it actually gave them a solar package. Hasn't been installed yet because they bought in the fall. So hopefully this spring they're going to get the solar package installed and I can, get a feel for how much money they'll actually save on their electric bill. So haven't done any one since, just because I like to see one person go through the whole process and to understand the pain that's involved, because every one of these programs has a little bit of tricks in there. But so I like to make sure that everybody is going in with their eyes wide open. Here's another person, Kenneth Martin. Kenneth's actually one of my favorite people. I met Kenneth probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And Kenneth called me when he was sitting in his barber's chair. So his barber told him to call me. He confided in his barber that he was being forced to move. His roommate moved out, and landlord came one day and said, "Hey, Kenneth, you're not on the lease. You have to move out." So Kenneth, on a fixed income, all he had was Social Security income, and we were able to find him a good quality house. Now, when he called me, he was actually working with an agent that was trying to push him into purchasing a home that needed a fair amount of work. And that really wasn't what was best for Kenneth. Okay. We wanted to get something that was kind of already rehabilitated, something that was in good condition that he could just move into. And Ken's story was a little bit tricky, just from the standpoint that he actually was forced out of his rental, and we had to help him get move into some temporary housing while we guided him through this whole process. Now, he was able to buy this home with only $1,000 out of pocket. Okay. And so at the time of closing, he didn't need any money. So he gave me, I think it was $250 for a home inspection. So his budget was very, very limited. So we called in a favor. Our home inspector did a discount on the home inspection for us. And then a few weeks later, he was able to get together enough money for a deposit, which was $750. That was all he needed. And what was odd was during his temporary housing, he actually ran across this dog, Maestro. And the reason Kenneth actually needed to have a house was he is a musician. He loves his music. So he met Maestro at the motel that he was staying at. And so I'm happy to say him and Maestro are doing very, very well at their house, and they had a great holiday. So that's Kenneth's story. Next one, here's Shannon. Now, Shannon actually was referred to me by some people that I had sold a home to at, if you're from the Detroit area, it's 8 Mile in Wyoming, the Kroger there. Shannon, and I've sold houses to a few people that work there. So Shannon works at the Kroger and wanted to find something within walking distance. She just isn't a fan of driving. So we were able to find something just a couple of blocks away for $117,000. And all she needed was a couple of $1,000s out of pocket to make that happen. So we did it on the zero down program. Next one, Emily. Emily's a story, and she's one of the favorites because I learned as much from Emily as she did from me. So Emily is, her patience and persistence motivates me. Okay. And what I mean by that is Emily, there's a program that's available through the federal, it's basically a federal program. It's called Section 8. It's a voucher program, helps people make rent payments. And Emily was a recipient of that. And she was in a situation where she was with a landlord that was less than quality and was kind of strong arming her into purchasing the home that she was renting because she got approved for a purchase program with her voucher. Now, when she called me, I'm very upfront. I was like, hey, Emily, I'm glad you got the voucher, but I'll be upfront with you. I've never been able to get one of these across the finish line. And don't know why, but every time somebody has to go to the housing commission to get the proper documentation, they can't get it. Well, that was until I met Emily. Emily is a very, I don't want to say strong-willed, but she is a very determined person, very polite about it. She went down to the housing commission and she just politely said, hey, this is the documentation I need to get a mortgage approval for this program you say that's eligible. I'm just going to wait here until you can actually print this document out for me. And lo and behold, they gave it to her. And we got her approved to buy a home on Freeland for $117,000. This was a solid brick ranch. All the stars were in alignment. Beautiful house, finished basement, never had a lick of water in the basement. Everything was in good shape, turnkey. It was one of the houses that was just very well cared for. A lot of pride of ownership from the previous owner. Well, Emily qualified for a $25,000 grant, a 3% grant on top of that, a $5,000 closing cost grant, and a $500 appraisal grant. So she qualified for all the money because her credit scores were a little higher. And that just really checked a lot of boxes for her. So the most wonderful thing about it is on this Section 8 program, Section 8 is going to make her mortgage payment for the next 15 years. So just an incredible program. And what I mean by her teaching me is that her patience and persistence was key. Even though this program has been around for several years, she was the very first person to get it done. So she, in my mind, helped kick the door open. And now we're actually just got an email from the Detroit Housing Commission asking me to do a workshop to help other people get through. So this is something that just is a huge win for me. And Emily has, I think Emily, at least once a week, she's referring me a new person. So, and very few things mean as much to me as those types of referrals. Tashiana purchased this home, $25,000 grant from the city of Detroit. And here, Brian bought this one. Someone mentioned they wanted to move to Inkster. Here, this was one. Brian purchased this using the state of Michigan, $10,000 down payment assistance program. He was able to purchase this with just a few $1,000s out of pocket, and his payment was only $1,200 a month. So very, very happy for Brian. And here is another one that was just a great, great successful story for Deborah. She actually closed, I think it was right before Christmas. And on this story, Deborah qualified for a $75,000 down payment assistance. It's the Tobias Harris down payment program. In addition, she actually had a landlord that agreed to sell her the house that she was renting at a price about 5 years ago. And when she said she wanted to buy the house, the landlord still honored that price from 5 years ago. So, and that's the gentleman on the right-hand side. You'll see there's a picture of myself and then Deborah and then LaDon. I actually have to call LaDon. He owns quite a few rentals, and he had some other tenants that we need to get on this program. And then this is Deborah with Steve Narden. Steve is with Guild Mortgage. He's the one that did the $75,000 down payment assistance program. So she ended up purchasing this house in the University District with only $1,500 out of pocket. So great, great program. Very, very happy for Deborah. So these programs are out there, and these people were once where you are. So I always tell people, patience, persistence, there's very few things we can't get through in life. So now, with that being said, I want to kind of jump into what is down payment assistance and what are grants and things like that. So down payment assistance is kind of like it's a phrase that kind of covers a lot of things. It's any way that you can get help to cover your down payment. Now, there are grants, okay, that really aren't down payment assistance. Grants are just free money. So no matter what we do, we always want to try to tap into grants first. Okay. Now, a lot of times we can stack grants on top of down payment assistance. That's what Emily and a lot of people do. Okay. So when it comes to down payment assistance, there are a few different types of down payment assistance. There are down payment assistance where they give you money, and as long as you own the home for a period of time, whether it's 3, 5 years, they will let you keep the money after the 3 or 5 years expire. So, hey, as long as you own the house for a while, you get to keep all the money. That's one version. The next one is they will lend you the money for free. You never make any payments on it, but when you sell the house, they want the money back. Okay, so you get free interest, free use of someone else's money. Another great way to do it. Okay, if somebody's going to offer you free money, or free use of money, I should say, why wouldn't you do it? So there was someone earlier, you mentioned the state of Michigan $10,000 program. That is free use of the state's money. So the state's going to give you $10,000 to use for your down payment. Whatever's left over can be used for your closing costs. Whether you own that house 3 years or 30 years, at the end of 30 years, you sell the house, they want their $10,000. So you get to use $10,000 free for 30 years. And then you get to keep all the money from the appreciation. I mean, it's a great way to do it. What business person wouldn't want to do that? So the third type of down payment assistance is when you might have to make payments on that second mortgage. I don't do those very often. Those are rare. Most of the people that I work with are going to either get the free money, they're going to get the grants, they're going to piggyback that with maybe some down payment assistance that is free as long as you own the home 3, 5, or 7 years, or free use of the money. Those are the ones. So either way, great way to buy a house with very little money out of pocket. And a lot of these down payment assistance programs, in addition to covering the down payment, a lot of the money can be used to cover your closing costs too. That's some of the ways that I help people get into homes with very little money out of pocket. Okay, so first we want to try for grants, then we want to hit it with DPA programs. Now, what are some of the eligibility requirements for these? Well, they're a lot easier than a lot of people think. Okay, so typically when you're buying a house, there are three things that you need to work on. There's money, there's income, and there's credit. Okay, so I always tell people the money, as crazy as it sounds, the money is the easy part. With these down payment assistance programs and grants, it's not very challenging for me to find the money. And a lot of times there's money in other places besides the down payment assistance program. We can get seller credits. We can get lender credits. There's all kinds of ways to get extra money to get people across the finish line. Okay. And there are a lot of grants out there that are based on the lenders. And some of the lenders have grants basically giving money based on the Community Reinvestment Act. So that's just another level. I'm not going to go into the weeds on that, but just the same, you do this long enough, I know where to find the money. Now, the eligibility requirements, the money is the easy part. Credit is something that they do look at. Okay. So typically, in order to qualify for, let's just say 90% of the programs, you got to have a credit score above a 580 to 600. Now, there are times when we get grant money. Different municipalities and cities get grant money that has no credit score requirements. Here's an example. Past 2 years, City of Detroit has been blessed with a $25,000, they call it a down payment assistance program. Okay. And it really, it is. You own the place for 3 years, you get to keep all the money, but it's that $25,000 has no credit requirements with it. So as long as we get you approved for an underlying mortgage, for example, like an FHA, most people don't realize FHA loans don't technically have credit score requirements. What happens is the lenders won't do loans under credit scores of like 580 or typically. There are some lenders that will do FHA loans all the way down to 540. I've heard of 520, haven't gotten it done, but 540. So last time that the City of Detroit program ran through, I had a handful of people whose credit scores were in the mid 500s. We were able to get approved. And the reason we got them approved was $25,000 was a big down payment. So you put $20,000 down payment on a $200,000 house, that's 10% down. The lenders get very forgiving on your credit scores. Okay, so don't let anybody tell you you can't do that. So and I tend to have a large audience from Southeastern Michigan because that's just where I'm at. But if that's the case, please reach out to me because I have a feeling we are going to see the floodgates open with some down payment assistance programs and grants in the very near future. Okay. And the reason I say that is and unfortunately, these government shutdowns have really been pushing this off. But back on Labor Day, U.S. Secretary Scott Bessent did an interview. And that interview said that the Trump administration's we're not going to touch any of the down payment assistance or grant programs out there for home buyers. We understand there is a housing emergency going on because the average first-time home buyer is becoming older, 40 years old, like I said earlier. So with that being said, they were going to touch anything, and they were trying to find a way to introduce new options. Now, whether they're trying to find a way where they can give more money through tax credits, whether that tax credit is going to be at the closing table or at your time you do your income taxes, we don't know. They've also come up with things like 50-year loans. They've also come up with whether or not they are going to allow people to make mortgages portable from property to property to hopefully free up the log jam of baby boomers that won't sell their houses because they're sitting on 2.5% interest rates. So So they're not going to put these programs into effect until they have something in place to break that log jam of people that are not selling their houses. There's a lot of baby boomers sitting on large homes that are not selling because they don't want the burden of watching their taxes go up, their insurance go up, all kinds of reasons. Okay, and they can't replace it, so they've got to come up with a way, and they don't want to get rid of their 2.5% interest rate. So can't say I blame them, but so it's kind of creating what's called a housing emergency. And U.S. Secretary Bissett, when he did this interview on Labor Day, said, don't be surprised if you see an executive order in the future. Now, I feel like the government shutdowns that we've run into have kind of pushed that out there a little bit. So I am telling people, please schedule a call with me so we can make sure that your life, or for a mortgage, that you've got everything in order. So that way, when this money surfaces, you're ready to pull the trigger. Okay. So let me do, I'm going to put there we go. Here is a link to my calendar to book a call. I always tell people I do these for free. Okay. Free calls, no commitment. I want to just learn your story, put myself in your shoes, and tell you exactly what you have to do to get approved for something. And then we can work on your timeline. Okay. All right. Now back to the eligibility requirements. Okay. So we talked about the money, that being the easy part. Credit, hey, as long as you're in the mid 500s, all good. Okay. If you need something sooner than later, and we need to get a quick spike in your credit score, I do a credit repair webinar. Okay. Remember, I don't know if all of you were on, but I had a financial meltdown about 13 years ago, and I had to rebuild my credit from scratch. I'm talking foreclosures from multiple properties, bankruptcy, you name it. And 13 years ago, it was 10 times harder to rebuild your credit than it is right now. There are a ton of tools at your fingertips to get your credit turned around in a relatively short period of time. In fact, the webinar that I do is basically how to get your score up 60 points in 60 days. So if your credit score is in the mid 500s, we can get you up in the strike zone to use these down payment assistance programs in 60 days. Okay, just that simple. I know it's a pretty bold statement, but if any of you are so inclined, hey, here's a link to register for my free webinar. Okay. So, and if any of you are readers out there, I just published a book on Amazon, how to boost your credit score quickly to get a mortgage. It's called No Credit, No Problem. How to buy with bruised credit, basically. So, and how to do it for down payment assistance program. So you can get all of these on my website. I'll show you. And this stuff is all for free. All my webinars are for free. I have my publications. I actually have free digital classes for people too. I'll go over that in a little bit. Now, as far as the eligibility requirements, we've got the money. So don't worry about the money part of it. We've talked about the credit. We got the tools. We've got your back there. The one thing we can't do is work for you. Okay. So the next thing is your income. So money, credit, income. You got to have those three things in order to get you where you need to be. Now, as far as your income, fixed income, you saw some of the examples earlier. Fixed income is not a problem. Okay. It just kind of handcuffs our budget a little bit. So as long as I know what your budget is or where your income is, we can work those numbers for you. Okay. Hey, Vernon, first timer, you know what? Thanks for saying it. Thanks for being here. So with that being said, don't let someone tell you can't do it with a fixed income. In fact, I think 2 or 3 of the people that I used for examples earlier were on fixed income. So if you have a job, W-2 job, past 2 years, great. That's the easiest. Not everybody's life is perfect like that. Okay. The thing that they look for is they need a 2-year job history, but sometimes that 2-year history is over 3 years because somebody might have been laid off for a year or 6 months. We just have to cover that period. Now, if you're self-employed, they typically, or 1099 income, they consider that self-employed too. That's when we start to need the tax returns. Okay. And they average those over the last 2 years. Now, ideally, they don't want to see more than 45% of your income, and that's your gross income. Okay. So they don't want to see more than 45% go to your house payment and your overall debts. So let's say, for example, you've got an income of $4,000 a month. That's $1,800 a month going to your bills. And when I say bills, just the bills on your credit report. So let's say, for example, you have $4,000 a month, 45% would be $1,800. Suppose we subtract a car payment, which is $400. Some credit cards, student loans are $100. That's $500. That takes you down to $1,300. That tells me that $1,300 is what could go to your house payment. So they're only looking at the debts that show up on your credit report or routinely out of your bank statements. Okay. Right now, in my neck of the woods, a $1,300 house payment is buying about $150,000 to $70,000 house, depending upon where the property taxes are. So it's buying a decent house in my neck of the woods. So, and the other reason I use 1,300 and always like that is the average 2-bedroom apartment right now is $1,350 across the country. Crazy. Somebody would have told me that a few years ago. I would have just shook my head. It's still hard for me to believe that one. So, so we talked about the eligibility requirements there, the benefits of doing down payment assistance and grants. Now, the most common misconceptions about down payment assistance, and I get this a lot, okay? I get people that are like, well, you got to pay it back. And I'm like, okay, if you got to pay something back, but you get free use of the money. I mean, I don't know too many savvy business people that would go, hey, you want to start a business? I'll give you $1 million. Just pay me $1 million back in 20 years. I mean, what's not to like? That's just a great deal. So, I mean, is it as good as free money using grants? No, but it's a great option. Okay. So family members don't even get things that good. So anyways, I get a lot of people, specifically loan officers, that don't always talk up some of these down payment assistance programs. And I get it. I spent, like I said, over 20 years in that world. I know why. Okay. Most lenders don't do more than 2 or 3 different types of first-time homebuyer programs. Okay. These programs, the down payment assistance and grant programs, they're not really profitable. Okay. In fact, a lot of the down payment assistance companies dictate what the lenders can make. So as a result, a lot of lenders don't do them. So I find that the ones that do a really good job at them are either, brokers that are 100% committed to the space, or regional banks, I think, do an exceptional job with down payment assistance programs and grants. And the reason is regional banks fall under the Community Reinvestment Act. They have to push X amount of money to the streets in underserved communities routinely. So as a result, I work hand in hand with several regional banks that way. So that's how my opinion with regards to the misconceptions regarding down payment assistance programs. All right. Next thing, let's just jump right into this. Let's give you a feel for what are the steps to go through and get approved for a home using these. The first thing we want to do is we want to basically find the down payment assistance programs. So I'm going to go through my chat box here, and let's see if anybody put an address in here. Oh, okay. Michael Boyce. All right. Thank you for putting that in there. All right. So let's do this. We've got this address on Isabel in Inkster. Good. I'm going to zip out of my presentation right here. Go to my website. This is my website, owntheroof.com. Okay. Please try to remember this one. This is where I have all the free tools. Okay. You can go into resources. I've got publications. Right now, I think it shows it's going to take you to the Amazon store, but you don't need to buy these. Okay. I didn't write these books to make money. So just text me, free book, and you'll get a copy of it. In fact, here's a link I'm putting in the chat box right now. Click that link. It'll take you right where you can download a copy of my free book. No down payment, no problem. And then there's the no credit, no problem. Next one, program search. That's where we want to be right now. We are just go to the program search, go down, click here. And let's see, we're going to input that address that Michael put in there. Whoops, that's the link. All right. And where did that go? Hey, Michael, do you have the zip code for this one in Inkster so I don't have to look it up? Okay, Inkster, Michigan. Let's see if it might not do it without the address. All right, let's do it. Let's go out to all right, let's get the address. I'm just going out to Zillow right now, see if this pops up. Thank you, Ryan. All right, here we go. 48141. You can see this house in Inkster qualifies for 20 different programs. Okay, just going to enter my email address at kind of catch all. And let's see here, email to you instantly. And let's go. Here we go. Here's the email. Okay, so 20 programs. Looks like there's one program up to $25,000. Now, I didn't see on Zillow. What did it say this one? Let's try that again. $165,000. Hey, nice house, Michael. Hey, this is a 50s brick ranch. I love these. Good. All right. Well, now let's go here. Now that I can see what we've got. Oops. Okay. So we've certainly got $10,000 from the state of Michigan. There's $25,000. I don't know that this first generation program has funding in it, but we've got 6% of the purchase price, which would be 6% of 160, 32. You've got about almost $10,000 there. Genoa, 5%, 3.5%. Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis, down payment assistance, 20%. I think it might be out of money. You can see the dots there. Compass Working Capital has money. There's a $20,000 grant. Bam. That's the one I would probably first go with. There's also a grant from Faith in Girls. It's the FIG program. That one doesn't pop up too often. So Wayne County, this is a great program. National Faith, $14,000. Love this program. And the reason I love it, free money. The day of closing, you don't have to pay anything back. You could sell it the next day and keep the $14,000. Now, what's nice about that is that $13,999, 100% of it can cover your down payment, or better yet, we could use $10,000 for your down payment, and then the $4,000 or the $3,999 to cover your closing costs. They do have a minimum contribution. They want you to have 1% in the purchase price, which on this one would be $165,000. So your minimum contribution would be $1,650. So a lot of ways to structure this transaction here. So great way to buy a house. So Michael, thank you very much for pointing that out. There was someone here. Jermina, do you have any addresses for Connecticut? Love to do one in Connecticut. Let me just see what I've got here and go back. Let's try. All right, let's see if we can get one here in. Okay. You know, let's see. Where do we want to go here? Let's try zooming in. Here's one for $400,000 in Connecticut. Let's try this one. Oh, didn't want that photo there. Okay, here's one. Where did that go? That one is not cooperating for us. Okay, here we go. Let's try this one. $299 coming soon. All right. Let us see what this one does for us. For our friends in Connecticut. $24 programs in Connecticut. Get details. Let's see what that one. So this was on a $300,000 house. All right. Whoa. Wow. So here, Connecticut, Germina, $166,000 in down payment help, 24 programs. And let's see, 25,000 through Connecticut Housing Authority, 18,000, 15,000, 32,000 from Federal Home Loan. I'm looking for the big one here. Maybe I passed it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Housing Development Fund, Smart Move for Connecticut and New York home ownership. So second mortgage, $166,000, $966,292. They will give you up to 25% of the purchase price. Crazy. Let's take a look at some of the things on this one. So just zooming in. So this is the type of homework that I do. Benefits 25% of the purchase price, low interest down payment assistance, first time home buyers, Connecticut 25%. Just looking for the details on this one. Interesting. It could actually be used for multifamily properties too. Wow. And if there's anybody ever out there, if there are any first time home buyer wannabe landlords, oh my gosh, if I had a chance to turn back the hands of time, 40 years for me, that would be exactly what I would do. Buy a multi-unit with using down payment assistance. So for example, that's one of the techniques that I do with fixed income people is there are some of these programs where you can actually buy a duplex, rent half of the unit. You buy a duplex for, let's just say a couple $100,000, rent half of it out for $1,300 a month. Chances are that's going to cover, 75% of your payment. Now you're paying just a few $100s a month. The guy next door is making most of your payment for you. Great way to buy a house. What's nice about that is we can take that income from the unit next door and add that to your fixed income. That's how we get the purchase price up as high as we can. So there are some real life examples for you. All right, let's go. So go to my website, click on the program search tool. That is owntheRoof.com. Go into resources, program search. That's where you're going to find it. Okay. You've also can book calls with me there. I've got my zero down webinars and my credit repair webinars if you ever wanted to register there. In addition, I've got free courses. These are all digital courses, all for free. The webinar that I'm giving you right now, this is more of a 4-hour in-depth webinar, all recorded. Okay. So if you don't care for my voice, don't do it because I'm the one doing it. But anyways, these programs, it just goes over how we tap into these programs, what the criteria is like, things like that. Then we've got credit score. If you need help with your credit score and can't do my webinars or want something in detail, I think we have 4 hours of recordings on how to fix your credit in a short period of time. And one of the most important things are how do we structure these deals to get in with just a couple $1,000. Here, structure deals with little money. These are all free courses that I offer people. Okay. So all I want to do is be that resource for you. When it comes time to make that decision, hey, give me a call. Always happy to walk through different scenarios for you. And then once we get you pre-approved for these grants and down payment assistance programs, my team is waiting to get you into any houses you want to see. Okay. So just hit us up on it. All right. Let's get back. Here we go. So that's how we get into the different things. Check your eligibility. We just did that. Okay. If you go in, you are going to see what the credit score requirements are, what the income requirements are, and other factors. Okay. So ideally, it used to be where we would tell people the first thing you want to do is go to a realtor, then we'll get you pre-approved with a lender and things like that. That model in my mind does not work here. Okay. Remember what I said earlier, you go to a lender, they're only going to probably have access to 2 or 3 programs. Okay. And when we start talking about 20 programs, I can tell you with a high degree of likelihood, no matter what lender you go to, it's probably a slim chance that they're going to have the most amount of money available for you. Okay. And they're not going to tell you that, by the way, the guy next door has a better program offering more money. They're not going to tell you that. Okay. So my goal is to learn your situation, find out where you want to move, because a lot of these programs are based on geographic areas. Okay. So depending upon where you're moving to, that's what determines the most amount of money that's out there. So we want to find out what programs are out there in the areas that you want to move to. Then we want to connect you with the lender that's offering not only that program, but when I'm working with people, I want a backup plan. Okay. I don't know how you are, but I always want to have a plan B. Okay. If the first one runs out of funding, or for some reason there's a quirky thing where I don't get approved, I want a plan B. So I don't want to hook you up with a lender that's just got one good program. I want someone that has a great program and a backup good program. Make sense? Okay. After that, we want you to start gathering your documentation. We're going to need to see things like your tax returns, bank statements, proof of income. That's it. So I always tell people bank statements for a couple of months, or hey, a lot of times people don't have bank accounts. They might have pay cards, stuff like that. That's fine. Okay. Not everybody has tax returns. Let me know. Sometimes there are programs that don't require tax returns. I just need to know what your situation is so I can help you navigate it. Okay. And they typically want to just see that you've got a little bit of money set aside to cover maybe that 1% out of pocket. Okay. But you always have to prove your income on a lot of these programs. Okay. And the next thing, we're going to connect you with that lender. Like I said, we want to connect you with the lender that's not only going to have a plan A, we want a plan B, and if at all possible, a plan C. And then from there, we want you to start working with an agent, opening up some doors for you. One thing I will tell you that you want to do prior to step number 1, I want you to start looking at houses. I always tell people it's never too soon to start looking at houses. I want you to see how your money spends. That way, when you're out looking at houses, you'll be educated with your marketplace. And when value is placed in front of you, you're not going to think twice. You're just going to jump. Okay? Don't worry. The people that I align myself with, we are going to have people's back. We are all about quality houses. Okay? I've been doing this way too long. I do not like the phone calls. I don't get them. But hey, John, guess what? Those calls don't work for me. Okay. So we are always going to tell people about the quality houses first. Okay. Sometimes, as tempting as it is, there's a lot of people or short-term investors buying houses, putting a little lipstick on them. And we're just not fans of that. Okay. And if we feel like somebody's about to walk off a cliff and make a mistake with a home, we're going to say something. I mean, ultimately, it is your decision. But sometimes, I had somebody last week that, oh, my uncle's a roofer. I don't care about that roof. Okay. Uncle came out. He's like, okay, yeah, not a big deal. We'll take care of it for her. Okay. Needed a furnace. I got a buddy that can do furnaces. Okay. Those are good. What's nice about when I say good, it's good because if the home needs work like that, we can negotiate a little bit. Ask the seller to possibly come up and pay more of our closing costs or lower price. You never know. So those are my steps. So imagine opening the door to a home for you and your family. It is a process, but it's possible. Okay. So keep that in mind. So now, before we wrap things up here, because always try to get it done in about 40, I'm trying to get it done sooner, about 45 minutes. I want to start hitting some of these questions out there. And before I jump into that, here is my cell phone number, 248-252-7283. I'm always hesitant to give it out to a large audience like this, but keep in mind, my schedule, if you need to schedule calls, please do it this week. Okay, I'm going to be down to some limited hours next week, and I did not adjust my calendar for my traveling next week. So try to schedule any calls this week, or make sure they're in the morning next week. I will have hours in the morning next week, but my afternoons are going to be booked for some training. Okay, so that being said, let me jump into Ashiana, Detroit area, West Side. Hey, that's where I'm from. I grew up on the West Side at Finkel and Lasser, kind of Brightmoor area. So very, very familiar with it. Oh, thank you, Michael, for adding the zip code there. Vernon, first timer. Hey, thanks for attending, Vernon. All right. Miss Guy, I would like to hear more about the Section 8 home ownership program. I have Section 8, but don't know how to turn it into home ownership. Okay. Miss Guy, I'm glad. Thank you very much for asking that question. Because I actually feel like the housing commissions don't, I don't want to say they don't do a good job. That's not what I meant to say. What I mean to say is they don't communicate sometimes as well as they could. So now each housing commission, let's put it this way, not all housing commissions participate in that Section 8 home ownership program. Okay. So your housing commission needs to do it. I have a complete list of every housing commission in the country that participates in it. Okay. So that's the first step. So Ms. Guy, please schedule a call with me. Okay. There are ways to coach you through this that I am reluctant to do in a live audience, but there are some workarounds to get you into a housing commission that does support ownership opportunities. Okay. And in the near future, we are going to be doing housing commission webinars, teaching people about this, because it's not rocket science, but it's just a couple of more steps. And it's not even tricky, just little quirks that kind of throw surprises for agents if they don't know how to do it. Okay. Hey, Brenda Sandifer. Thank you for watching. All right. Let me get back to the beginning with some of these questions here. All right. Renita, okay. You know what? Give me a minute. I'm going to come back and do that one on Lamont for you. Renita, if you could put in the whole address on Lamont. Okay. I need the zip code, if you could, please. Cherish, first time. Great. Cynthia, 2 years watching me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Several first timers. Thanks for making it here. Love to have you. Same situation. We only have a couple of months. This is iPhone Nikki. Same situation here. We only have a couple of months to find something where we are now selling in the spring. Been having a hard time. Well, Nikki, please reach out and schedule a call. Okay. These programs can go as quick. I mean, I've gotten one done in 2 weeks. They typically can get done in under 30 days. It just depends on which program we align ourselves with. So there are a couple of banks that have teams dedicated to getting these done in a streamlined process. So happy to hook you up there. any help in Roseville or St. Clair Shores? Absolutely. So St. Clair Shores is it's a pocket that becomes a little bit more challenging, but there are programs available. Certainly the state of Michigan program. Roseville has a zero down grant program that I'm a huge fan of. Only requires 600 credit scores, no mortgage insurance. Great, great product. Okay. Renetta, looking for the state of Michigan grant. I don't know of a state of Michigan grant right now. They have down payment assistance programs, the 10,000. They do have the 25,000 that's there, hasn't been refunded yet. The first generation program, but I don't know of any programs or grants on the state level. Okay. But if you have a specific area, we can certainly run that and see what grants pop up for you. Okay, Renetta? Near Roseville. Okay, like I said, Roseville, lots of programs. My favorite is a zero down program through Flagstar Bank. It's called Destination Home, only requires a 600 credit score, and it's good for almost all of Roseville. What I like about it is there's no mortgage insurance premium, so it keeps your payments quite low. It's actually a conventional loan offering zero down, so almost unheard of. It's one of those programs that if you ask someone in the industry, they would probably tell you it sounds too good to be true. But I have used that program for at least 6-7 years now since they first launched it. They used to run out of money, but it's been substantially funded over the past 3 years. They've never run out. iPhone 14. Okay, I'm in the Detroit, Boston, Edison district. I'll give you a call for sure. Great. Look forward to it. You are welcome, this guy. Okay. What's the time from connecting with lender to starting the clock to find a property you like? Great question. So typically, give you a time frame. Schedule a call with me. Once we're done with that call, we're going to know whether there's a likelihood of it working or not. Okay. I'm very familiar with all the guidelines on a lot of these programs, what will work and what won't work. And you'll never hear the word no from me. You'll just hear, hey, we have to work on things to get you where you need to be, if that's the case. So, but most people, once I refer them to the lender, 90% of the time, they're going to get approved, typically 48 hours. Sometimes if everything looks great and we push them, we can get it done in a few hours. It's as quick as you filling out the application so they can pull your credit. Remember the three things: income, credit, and assets. I'm not as concerned about the assets. The credit we can get pulled right away. So if you can get some of your income or bank statements into them right away, I've had them kick out pre-approvals in a couple of hours. From there, we're out looking at houses. May take you a day, may take you a week or two. But we want to make sure that when we do find something, we're finding something that's of good quality. Now, once that happens, depending upon the program, is typically going to take about 30 days. Okay. There's some excess capacity in the mortgage world, so they should be able to get your processing time done in 30 days. So if you needed to do something very quickly, you could be done start to finish 30 days. That's really pushing it. Realistically, 45 days, maybe 60 at the outside. That gives us a week or two to find a house. Hope that answers your question. Great. Hey, the free book link is giving you an error. Okay, let's see that. Let me go in here. Yeah, no, it just worked for me. Let me try putting that again. Paste. There you go. Just enter your name, phone number, email address, and boom, you'll get the free book. Okay, so try that link. Maybe I missed something there. All right. And then let me navigate off of this just because that moving screen's gonna. Rosedale Park. Renetta, yes, $10,000 one, Rosedale Park. Love it. That's my wife's place. My wife grew up in Rosedale Park. All right. Someone 48214. I know there was an address here. Nikki, great. I'll look forward to your call. Daniel, only Wayne County. No, these programs are available nationwide. Okay. So every area, that's why there's 2,500 programs. Every area's got something different. Remember, I just ran that scenario for someone in Connecticut offering $161,000. So it really depends on, I find there's a direct correlation between how expensive the houses are and how much money is available. Okay. Harper Woods, yes. Harper Woods or Dearborn. So Harper Woods actually has the Wayne County program. That's $14,000. That one has some limited funding on it. I have not checked it in a week. Let me double check. That's through National Faith. And now this gives you $13,999. It's a loan that's forgivable after 5 years at zero interest. So, never make a payment, never pay any interest. After 5 years, as long as you own the home, boom, you get to keep the whole $14,000. So I was mistaken. I thought that one was free at closing, but there is. So you said Harper Woods right here. Boom, Harper Woods is included. Dearborn, not so much. Okay, but Dearborn is serviced by the state county. Okay, Daniel B, looking at Oakland County, lots of programs in Oakland County too. So it depends on where you're looking in Oakland County. Okay, as long as you're staying in a moderate income area or lower, there tends to be more. There are programs that cover all of Oakland County. So lots of different places to go. What's the web address? Carmelita, what is the web address to find the grants that are available for a certain address? I will give that to you. That's on my website, Own the Roof, under resources, program search. So here is, let me copy that. Here is the link for that. Okay. Renetta, I hope you were able to get to that free book. You are welcome, Carmelita. Oh, Ryan, hey, thank you for entering that. So that link there. And all right, let's go. Okay, so we had an address. Let's see here. I thought it was on Lamont. There it is. Well, let's go here and see what we've got. Zillow. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Okay, where is Lamont? Is that, I thought I saw, you said it was a 482. What city? 48234. I think that's a Detroit zip code. 22 programs. Let's see. Saying page not found. Maybe I have to log out. Maybe refresh it. Not sure what the issue is. Gosh, it's working just fine for me. Um, let's see. Let's try this other one. Okay. Hmm. All right. Let's see for this address for Lamont. Okay. There you go. 25,000. Same. Looks like 10,000, 10,000, 25. But I think that one's limited funding right now. So there's a fair amount of money there. 20,000. This one covers for Compass, and these are grants for the FIG program too. Uh, so a couple of options there. And this was for, let me see. Renetta, yes. So Renetta, looks like there's a couple of grant programs that the House on Lamont will qualify for. So reach out to me. Happy to try and connect some dots for you there. Let's see what we've got with regards to error pops up on, interesting. Let's try it. So here's the book. Let's copy that link. Let's try it again. Start over. Paste the link. Go. Takes me right there. Let's try John Collins. There. Click here. Oh, yeah. Looks like that's not working. I'll tell you what. Just send me, here's my phone number. 248-252-7283. And just shoot me a text. Just say, please send me a copy of the book and your email address, and I'll get that emailed off to you first thing in the morning tomorrow. All right. How are we doing on some of the other platforms, Ryan? Any questions out there? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Let me give you my contact information one more time so we can, not the contact information. I want to give you a where to book a free call. So let's hit that right now. Here is a link to my calendar. Oh, thank you for saying that. All right. Sanashir, is that how I pronounce your name? Boy, I look at your name, Sanashir, and I stumble, but I'm probably not the first person to do that. So it's kind of a tongue twister for me. So thank you for saying it's motivating. I really do appreciate it. I find that sometimes the hardest thing, and I should have said this at the beginning this evening, like I said, getting the money is the easy part. Getting a lot of the things really isn't together, between the income and the assets and the credit. But I find that building the hope is the hardest thing. And that's the thing that I take to heart more than anything else, because what I don't ever want to do is build false hope. I feel like there's too much of that in this world as it is. But I do feel like there is a clear path as long as you align yourself with people that have been down that road before. So, and that's something that my team and I pride ourselves in. Okay. We've been doing this a long time. There's very few situations that I haven't run into. And I can guarantee you, whether you use down payment assistance programs or grants or not, it's buying a house is always somewhat, it's a bumpy road. Okay. The one thing I tell people is I'm going to point out the bumps along the way. Okay. And tell you what's a bump to be concerned with, to brace for, and what's just normal business. Okay. So I find that most of the team members that I work with regards to mortgage companies, title companies, agents, you name it, I tend to work with seasoned people that basically put the customers first. Okay. this, by doing that, by me putting the customers first, by me giving all of this free educational content out there, the free books, the free courses, the free webinars, things naturally take care of themselves. Okay. It's just this abundance mindset. And don't get me wrong, I didn't always roll this way, but after my financial correction about 12, 13 years ago, this is what it evolved into. And I am a much happier man as a result of it. I used to be in that grind in the mortgage world, just chasing numbers to be that number one person on whatever sales leaderboard or you name it, whatever metrics we were being held accountable for that month. That's what I always ran after, never realizing that it really wasn't fulfilling. For me, the most fulfilling thing is when I get to see people get across the finish line. Okay. When I get to see customers who I can go to a closing, and I love going to the closings. And when I can sit back and help people like Kenneth. Kenneth was, I mean, just a great story. I didn't even give you a fraction of his story, but just great. Shannon, just a wonderful lady. And Emily will forever be a friend of mine. It's just the relationships and the people that I meet. They're just absolute gifts for me and my team. So, so with that being said, I really hope you pick up the phone and give me a call or schedule a call. Whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years makes no difference to me. I mean, I've been doing this quite some time, and I plan on being here quite some time. So it's never too late to start. One thing I can tell you is the rental market just continues to deteriorate. What you get for your money is very disheartening, and the quality of rentals out there, it's pretty sad. So I always tell people the best time to buy would have been 5 years ago. Okay. I had somebody just last week, we've been working with them for a couple of years, and he was like, hey, should I be buying in the spring or should we be buying now? And I'm like, you know what? It's the truth of the matter. You should have bought 5 years ago. You should have bought 3 years ago when you could. He was just being a little bit too, you have to compromise, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay. And if you don't compromise, you wake up 3 years later and you know what? Home prices are up $20,000, $30,000 minimum. Interest rates are still the same. They haven't changed a whole lot, but the prices of the houses have. So what I always tell people is do not miss out on those equity runs. Okay. We've seen homes continue to appreciate at 3.5% to 5% a year consistently. And right now, the way that this spring is shaping up, hopefully it's not going to be as bad as I think it's going to be. And when I mean bad, I mean, there's not a lot of homes out there that pushes prices up. And if you're looking as a first-time home buyer, those are the houses that don't typically come down. Okay. And the reason they don't come down is the rental market is under so much pressure. It drives those first-time home buyer prices up and up. That's why some of these coasts, East Coast, West Coast, and down in Miami, that's why the prices keep skyrocketing. Okay. Miami's getting a little bit of a pullback just because the condos and the insurance is down there, but New York and LA isn't. It's crazy what people are paying out there. So anyways, any other questions out there before we call it a night? Oh, Carmelita, thank you. Carmelita says, I still thank you for helping me get my house I'm living in now. You made what I thought would be hard. You made it easy. Thank you again. You are so welcome, Carmelita. Hope life is treating you well. Vernon, you are welcome. Thanks for attending. All right. Okay. Well, if you have any questions, you have my cell phone number. You please never hesitate to reach out to me. I am a phone jockey, so I'm on the phone quite a bit. If I'm not available, leave a voicemail or better yet, text me, and I'll call you back in between calls. So thank you all very much for attending this evening, and hope our paths cross again soon. Have a good night, everyone.